Another day, another round of cursed voting discourse. Hello everybody, I'm Karen and this is Democracy Manifest. A popular progressive streamer by the name of Hassan Piker recently went on a podcast and uttered the most controversial and surprising statement you can possibly imagine. He said that he would probably vote third party in the 2028 election if it was between Gavin Newsom and JD Vance.
Who do you vote for, JD Vance or Gavin Newsom?
Well, I'd have to vote for Gavin Newsom,
Me
of course,
too.
100%.
I wouldn't blink. What about you, Hassan?
I'd probably vote third party.
You would?
Oh, yeah. The reason why I did not endorse Kamala Harris was because she did things that were not only unproductive, but also unconscionable. And I still stand on that. I still talk about it all the time because people constantly bring it up. They're like, you didn't sufficiently promote Kamala Harris. You're the reason why she lost. And I'm like, I am incapable. The campaigns are always responsible for whether or not they are able to win the crowds, win the population over, and combat against the couch. Not necessarily even against the Republican Party, but usually you're fighting against the couch. People who just don't go out and vote.
And of course, the folks who can't just take the L. The folks who can't accept that this strategy is dead in the water. The folks who are trying to raise the Obama-era Democratic Party from the grave are rushing to shame Hassan and anyone who agrees with or defends this position. Hey computer, what year is it? Oh my god, I know what's happening here. They tried to build a machine to achieve time travel, and because of that, they have lost all concept of time. This is not a where are we situation. This is a when are we situation. This is a dumb bit. The presidential election is in 2 fucking years. Sorry, more like 2 years and 3/4 of a year. That's the point I'm trying to make here. And also, this is the most vanilla nothing burger I have ever seen as far as discourse goes. Who cares how he votes? But more importantly, I just don't understand what the point of having this conversation is right now of all time. So my position on elections and the intricacies of voting is kind of the shittiest position to be in if you don't like being scolded and lectured on the internet. I think that voting is incredibly important on a local level. I believe that there is utility in voting even in presidential elections. I believe that there's utility in criticizing and demanding more from Democrats. However, I believe that there is zero utility, not a single lick of utility, in demanding votes from people and bullying people on the internet over how they vote and or finger wagging, blaming the outcome of an election on anyone besides the politicians who failed to mobilize voters. In fact, I think that doing that will just drive potential voters further away from the outcome that you desire because duh, of course it will. Why would anyone listen to you if you're treating them like garbage? There comes a point when it becomes more of a self-indulgent outlet for frustration and anger than something that will actually yield positive results. And listen, I get that folks need an outlet. Times are scary. All right, on to Gavin Newsom. And here's a background check. I am certainly not a Democrat. I am way further left than Newsom is ever willing to reach out to right now. But the way our fundamentally disjointed democracy is set up, there's only 2 viable parties that can swoop up the Oval Office. So there's a strong case for voting for the lesser of 2 evils, because I personally see no harm in engaging in the pragmatic approach. And believe me, I've been criticized over saying that Joe Biden and Kamala are bad candidates and vote blue no matter who is a horrible strategy that has failed to get a Democrat into office multiple times now. But still, I believe in this pragmatic approach, mainly because I don't buy into the idea of voting being a moral act. If you do, then that's fine. But I still vote in every possible local election that I can. And I think that the president option is just another box to tick. There are material differences in the outcomes of presidential elections, so if you live in a swing state, I very much encourage you to look into this approach. But I'm not weird about it. It's just my philosophy. And if I were to make the decision, okay, I live in a blue state, I'm gonna vote for a third-party candidate, that's just how democracy works. But here's the thing. For the vote for the lesser of 2 evils, folks, there are layers to that process. One of them is called the primaries. It's the only way that even a slightly more progressive candidate than Newsom can have a shot at being the blue and vote blue no matter who. But I guess folks are convinced that this is no longer the case. I have no idea at this point. Now is the time for big talk. Now is the time for threat making. Now is the time to make demands, especially in the wake of the last election. I'd kind of understand scolding people if it were not 2 years from now, but Jesus Christ, this is jumping the gun a little bit. I'm willing to say and do nasty things in order to not see a Newsom versus Vance ticket. Keep the pressure on for the love of all that is good, and do not let anyone gaslight you into thinking that Gavin Newsom is progressive. Whenever you hear people make the case that he isn't essentially just a blue-washed corporate Republican, they are cherry-picking instances from his career and rhetoric before the 2020s. Politicians change over time, and he did not hold up to his promises. This guy fucking sucks, dude. This guy is the epitome of why folks are tired of the Democratic Party. I hate this motherfucker. First of all, for those who weren't paying attention to politics in the 2010s, Gavin is the former mayor of San Francisco, and yes, he's handsome. Let's get that out of the way. He's got that pretty privilege for sure. But he was kind of like a social democrat Bernie bro type of politician, or at least that's how he marketed himself. He promised to swing for big and bold progressive policies like universal healthcare, fighting for labor rights, bringing affordable housing to Californians, and ending child poverty. Stuff that would make your Facebook uncle say, yup, that guy's Antifa. And to throw in some nuance, in his career, he did do some progressive things, especially in the beginning, but he stabbed many backs and gleefully lowered his mask beyond that. Let's start with housing. He promised to build 3.5 million units by 2025. He has not done that. In fact, he has vetoed quite a lot of social housing initiatives and rent control expansions, stabbing progressives and unions in the back while doing so, and huddling close to real estate interests. Doing this, of course, leads to housing insecurity, which leads to poverty and homelessness. And instead of taking a progressive approach to combating homelessness, he invests in sweeps and destroying encampments, which does absolutely nothing but inflame these problems, as well as murder homeless people and make them more desperate because now they don't have a place to put their belongings, even if temporarily. And he also completely dropped goals for single-payer healthcare for Californians and instead went with incremental increases in Medi-Cal, California's Medicaid program, and has positioned himself to be a friend to the insurance industry. He kind of marketed himself to be like, oh, I'm the progressive bill guy, but time and time again, he kind of proven himself to be a progressive bill killer and an enemy to unions, affordability advocates, progressive politicians, and the working class. But he seems to be very cozy with business interest groups and big tech when he does them favors like allowing them to squash worker protections, some that even Newsom put in place himself earlier. Not to mention his current rhetoric of bridging the left and the right in a move to further abandon progressives and win over people who fucking hate him and will never vote for him. Like, I don't understand how anybody doesn't think that this guy's a centrist when he does stuff like invite Charlie Kirk onto his podcast and chum it up with him. I don't care how many death threats you send my way. Anybody who invites fucking Charlie Kirk onto his podcast and is this friendly with him, I'm gonna say I don't want to vote for that guy bravely. This is all to say that Gavin Newsom is kind of the perfect candidate for this corporate centrist chokehold Democratic Party that has been running the show and losing elections for quite a while now. He perfectly represents the current state of the Democratic Party in that both himself and this party uses vibes and progressive language and policy promises to mobilize voters only to take gigantic leaps backwards. His ride or dies are already saying that he is the only option and are deploying the vote blue no matter who, the shut up and settle, the don't let perfect be the enemy of good model that, to be clear, is not effective at winning elections, evidently. And also, everyone hates him. That's a realm that Democrats are very familiar with. Remember how they just plugged Kamala Harris, who was not outstanding popular by any means, into Joe Biden's platform that everyone already hated? And also, before that, just how risky it was to put Joe Biden up against Trump. Like, I'm still kind of shocked that he won in 2020. They're now gonna plug in this universally hated politician to most likely pick up where they left off. I don't think he has a surefire shot at winning. Maybe if the liberal president before him was Obama, like in the case with Joe Biden, but that's not gonna happen with Biden's unpopular ass being the last liberal president. I think that he is the exact kind of venom that Dems need to suck and spit out of their party if they have any chance of being an effective opposition party. If this party wants to survive, the future has to be dedicated to dumping guys like this. But the Democratic Party seems to be married to the idea of picking moderate losers over progressives with some actual sauce. And people are humoring Newsom being the primary Democrat in the wake of Zoran Mamdani winning the New York mayoral race. Two things from that. Mamdani's campaign fucking swept. And he was up against Cuomo. Second of all, goddamn, vote blue no matter who. Tell that to Chuck Schumer and all the other Dems who refuse to support Mamdani as a primary candidate. Lots of the people who are so strong on this vote blue no matter who strategy don't even fundamentally believe in it. So that's the situation we're in right now. That's the crux of the discourse. Hassan Piker said that he personally and probably, mind you, wouldn't vote for Gavin Newsom, worth mentioning that he lives in a consistently blue state. But I don't think that folks are mad about how he's personally voting. I think that they're mad that Hassan is not cheerfully voting for Gavin and exclaiming so with his platform, not live stream canvassing for him, knocking on doors like right now before he announces his campaign, years before the primaries, hell, 9 months before even the general election. I generally don't know what's going on with media coverage of Hassan. It's kind of all over the place from what I know about it, but like, does anybody out there actually think that he is a Democrat? Like he was once loyal to Democrats and this is like a bold new step he's taking? Was there ever an expectation for him to do anything like supporting Gavin Newsom? And if there's anything to glean from all of this, while it is nauseating the context in which we are having this conversation, talking about this way before the election might be good actually. I think that this discourse is actually tearing Gavin apart right now. Like, not everybody is in agreement over whether or not they should vote for him, but everybody is in agreement that he sucks. More of that, please. Just keep that coming. I just don't understand how these folks are so committed to not learning a single lesson. When you try something that fails more than once, you try something else. Maybe something that has worked in the recent past. And again, with the not learning lessons thing, the criticizing Palestinian advocacy angle is so interesting to me. In 2024, the Dems took their position of shuttering Palestinian voices. Like literally, they didn't give them a chance to speak at the convention. They said, oh, we don't care. We're trying to get moderates, not progressives. We're not gonna do a single thing to win your vote. Sorry, Buster. So they did that exact dumbass strategy where they tried to win over Trump supporters and ignored progressives, Palestinians, Muslims, and Arab voices like they promised that they would. And then suddenly, when they lost, it was because of this voting bloc that they willfully ignored. It's because the folks who drew their red line didn't shut up and vote the right way like they were apparently supposed to. And this entire conclusion only works if you trust that the planned votes turned abstained votes in addition to the Jill Stein and such votes were enough to actually swing the election, which there's no possible way to determine that. And now they're positioning an incredibly pro-Israel candidate who on paper has never taken a dollar from AIPAC but short circuits every time anyone brings up AIPAC.
I will not vote for a candidate that takes $1 from AIPAC.
It's interesting. It's interesting. I haven't thought about AIPAC. And it's interesting. You're like the first to bring up AIPAC in years, which is interesting.
Why
did I say that? Not relevant to my day-to-day life.
Okay.
Which is just interesting.
Listen.
It's interesting you say that. JPAC perhaps more, but AIPAC less and less.
Okay, fair enough.
Which is just interesting.
What's interesting about it?
That it's just interesting as you bring up AIPAC.
Don't you just think that's interesting? And again, they're just rushing towards the grave. I heard someone online say, well, this is meaningless until you give us an alternative to Newsom. There will be an alternative. We just have to wait for them to announce their fucking campaign. An alternative? Okay, how about literally anyone slightly more progressive and likable than Gavin Newsom? How about anyone who can run on a platform of economic populism and wouldn't be a walking contradiction while doing so? How about anyone who doesn't go on Ben Shapiro's podcast? What do you want me to do? Just name a random progressive politician who I admire and just cross my fingers that they will build organic hype and momentum like what happened with Mamdani? Saying, oh, you're not giving us an alternative would be a fair point, but we don't know what the alternatives are right now because a lot of stuff can change. And something that is so annoying about this is that the word realistic is being used so often. Like, Dem loyalists clearly aren't just playing hypotheticals here. I believe that a lot of the folks demanding fealty to Newsom do actually believe, to the bottom of their hearts, this many years out, that he is going to be the primary Democrat, because that's just the natural order of things. He's the Democratic Party's golden centrist blue boy who is automatically unappealing to anyone who does not live on the West Coast, and will be swing state kryptonite. And they know that he sucks and is unpopular with progressives and right of center. They know that he represents everything wrong with Democrats right now. And these people don't really fight anyone on these points, because not having agency and being expected to just fall in line with whatever shitty decision this party makes has broken these people's souls. They're like, yeah, you're right, but you have to vote for him anyways because he's the most realistic option. Mind you, what's not realistic is saying, let's not murder homeless people. What's not realistic is saying, let's have a modicum of criticism for the state of Israel and try to hold them accountable for genocide. What's not realistic is saying, maybe it's time to abolish the modern Gestapo that didn't even exist until recently. It's incredibly anti-democratic. It's the cultural antithesis of democracy. We are being expected to declare allegiance to someone who hasn't even won a primary yet. Someone who hasn't even said that they're gonna run yet. We're not allowed to have red lines at the primary either, because it's bad for when the shitty candidates win and we sow doubts into future voters with the thoughtful criticisms. We also aren't allowed to try to pressure candidates and critique them regardless if we have plans to vote for them, because, oh no, that's also going to dissuade voters. We're just not allowed to have opinions. So the corporate centrist Democrat voters, at the heart of all this, they just want you to be their slaves, I guess? I can't come to any other conclusion. They do not want you to have free will. They will yell at you if you do anything besides exactly what they want. Hell, their blood boils over the very thought of people participating in a democratic process, even in hypothetical situations. The only word that I can think of for all of this is psychotic. And it's especially psychotic because Gavin Newsom is a fucking baby. He is inexperienced anyways. You want this little toddler running the show? That's right. I'm personally gonna yell at you and make you feel awful unless you vote for Joe Biden in 2028, everyone. Get out there and get our necromancy Brandon back. Who cares about all that health stuff? Cancer who? We need wisdom, wizardry. We need Joe. All right, that was my video. I have a Patreon. I got some patrons. Go check all that out. Show me my patrons. Have a wonderful day.